Hello, Sagittarius, and welcome to your July 2026 monthly horoscope. My name is Justina. Welcome to my channel. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. All right, so today we are going to look at some of the most important events happening in the month of July, and I'll tell you how they may influence your life on a deeper level. All right, so here I follow Western astrology tropical zodiac, and this horoscope is most accurate for your rising sign, also called the ascendant sign. However, you can also watch it for your moon sign or your sun sign if you wish, just to get a bigger picture and to get a wider perspective upon your life. So welcome. All right, so we start with Neptune retrograde in Aries at 4 degrees on July the 7th. All right, so here that's your 5th house. So Neptune has been here since about the 26th of January. So here, along with Saturn, and at this point, Chiron is already in your 6th house. Jupiter is in the sign of Leo in your 9th house. So very expansive energy, wonderful time for traveling, engaging in activities that can help you grow and develop your skills and potentials. But with Neptune in a direct motion can make us sometimes see things through rose-tinted glasses. It often makes it difficult to set the clear and healthy boundaries in the area of life activated by this energy, but it also brings a lot of creative, inspirational energy, especially if you were, for example, renovating your house or beautifying your inner space, or if you are engaging in some creative aspects of projects, let's say. This sort of energy can bring a lot of imagination, but when it comes to even because it's a quite interesting transit, because of course you had Saturn here. So Saturn helps you overcome any confusing energies that Neptune would have created, like, for example, and the need for clear boundaries within your parenting style or within your romantic relationship, for example. So Saturn has been here simultaneously helping you to establish these structures and foundations in your life. But then when Neptune turns retrograde, it's like seeing things through their true colors, and this is when those illusions you may have experienced, or certain degree of lack of concrete steps or direction even, this now begins to dissolve temporarily. While Neptune is in a retrograde, he is retrograde, and this is generally when you can see things as they are. And this could see you restructuring your parenting style. This could see you also evaluating your romantic relationship, some personal projects you may have been involved in. If you have idealized someone or something, then you might see it also from a different light. So with Neptune retrograde, this is more of this is a slow-moving planet, an outer planet. So things happen slowly. It's a slow process that you might not even feel it that deeply unless you have some important placements in the initial degrees of Aries. But together with Saturn, because Saturn will also turn retrograde later in the month, together these two planets will push you and stimulate you to review what you have built in those initial 6 months of 2026. What is working in terms of anything to do with your children, your parenting style, anything to do with personal projects, hobbies, interests, for example, or anything to do with the romantic side of your life. So your approach might shift, your attitude towards certain people during this time as well. Now, as the month progresses, on July the 9th, Venus, the planet of beauty, relationships, balance, it enters Virgo, your 10th house. This is a really pleasant energy to have in this area of life, because you will likely feel more appreciated. This sort of energy improves your public image, public visibility, brings more harmony, harmonizing energy. It could bring some possible connections even into your life. It's a good time for networking, engaging in workshops as well. It's a good time for building your connections, building your network, building your reputation during this time. But at the same time, on the 13th of July, Venus and Uranus connect by a square. So here we've got the connection between your 7th and your 10th house. So here Venus and Uranus square, it could bring some disruption in your career life, in your professional life, in your public life. That's on the 13th. And with Uranus being activated in your sphere of relationships, and these disruptions may come through your relationship, from a certain connection, partnership, from your marriage, and could unexpectedly affect your professional path or anything to do with your public life, public world, career. So there could be an element of something happening unexpectedly, but this could be also a moment of some unexpected clarity that you may experience, especially since on the same day, we've got the Sun and Mercury Cazimi. The Sun and Mercury Cazimi conjunction, so Mercury will be in the heart of the Sun. And this indicates in the sign of Cancer as well in your 8th house. This is connected to some intuitive thoughts, realizations, ideas. This is in your area of resources, finances, debts, shared resources, finances. And Mercury is retrograde. So this indicates that a matter is returning from the past, something that has already been initiated in the past, set in motion. Whether that's a financial agreement that you'll be reviewing, reassessing, that might come back, or any documents related to mortgage, insurance. Maybe you might finally figure out how you can repay a certain debt or a loan. So whatever the scenario, on the day after these events, we've got a new moon happening in Cancer at 21 degrees. So new moons are connected to new beginnings. It's a great time for setting intentions, but this new moon is tightly conjunct Mercury retrograde. So this also indicates that there is an element of the past here again, whether that's connected to a financial matter coming back to the surface, something that hasn't been completed or finished, or something unprocessed is now here returning, giving you another chance, giving you a chance for resolving this matter, for dealing with this case, for example. This is the area of transformation, intimacy. Very often with those 8th house new moon, we go through a process of internal transformation. This could be connected to a partnership that you are currently engaged in or engaging. But remember, Mercury is retrograde at this time. So whatever that we start, something new, ideally it's better to delay it until the 23rd, or, for example, take a step-by-step approach. You can start preparing, but when it comes to signing any documents or launching anything, then it's better to wait until 23rd. But this could be connected to also some shifts and changes within your relationship. If you feel like things are out of balance, especially when it comes to responsibilities within your household, or in terms of who's got more control over what, this may also come up and show up around this time. Now on the 23rd, Mercury turns direct at 16 degrees of Cancer. On July the 23rd, Mercury turns direct. This is when things are suddenly or finally moving forward. You are gaining the clarity you may have lacked regarding the area of investment, the area of shared and joint resources, inheritance, and anything to do with any loans, debts, debt arrangements as well. So these sort of matters, themes, and topics suddenly gain their momentum. Things are moving forward. Things are becoming alive again. So think about what came up during the Cazimi, the Mercury retrograde Cazimi, Venus and Uranus square, and the new moon between the 13th and the 14th, because you might find that as of July the 23rd, things are starting to make sense. Things are starting to move forward. On July the 26th, Saturn turns retrograde at 14 degrees of Aries. This is happening in your 5th house, in the house of Aries. So Neptune is already retrograde as of the 7th of July, and now Saturn is joining Neptune. So here, as I mentioned earlier, Saturn is the planet of structure, boundaries, discipline, and order. Here, turning retrograde, this is a time to review the structures that you have built in your life since February. 2026 when Saturn entered Aries this year. So this is a phase of a major reassessment of any creative projects, things that you find entertaining, that you are actively engaged in, your hobbies, your interests, your romantic relationship, your parenting style, your relationship with your children. So with Saturn retrograde in your 5th house, along with Neptune, here, this is a time here, because Saturn will be stationing retrograde at 14 degrees of Aries. So double retrograde, Saturn rules over your 2nd house as well. So this is also a time when you might be reviewing and reassessing certain commitments in your life, certain projects, financial perhaps opportunities that may have come up in the recent past when it comes to self-discipline. So this is all about seeing what is sustainable in terms of the structures you may have built in your life when it comes to consistency, when it comes to your parenting style, your romantic side of your life overall. Right, so here on the 26th of July, big event of the month, because that's where the North Node enters Aquarius and the South Node enters Leo. We've got the activation of the 3rd and the 9th house axis. So a major 18-month cycle, karmic cycle. Wherever the North Node is present, this is when things usually tend to happen easier. With the South Node energy, this is when we need to let go and see what's working, what's sustainable, and what isn't. This is usually when we need to implement a little bit more effort and energy as well. That's your 9th house, but overall with the nodes, so yes, communication and learning and studying, and there's a strong focus upon your immediate environment, immediate connections, people from your social circle, people from your community, your neighbors. And overall here, learning and studying, gaining more confidence in what you know and engaging in new studies. So this is a cycle of development, self-growth, when you will be engaging in some educational activities, workshops, festivals, these sort of dynamics. But at the same time, for some, this could manifest as some major writing projects, for instance, as well. Now, with these energies, this is when we have to look at this eclipses as well. So we had one of the eclipses of this cycle back in February, an eclipse in Aquarius. Then there's one in the sign of Leo in the month of August. So here, this eclipse cycle will last until 2028, early 2028. We had one eclipse already in February this year of this cycle, and the nodes will be here for 18 months. So by the time the nodes leave these areas of life, you will still have one more eclipse occurring. All right, so which is very often the case at this point. We've got the nodes still in Pisces and Virgo. What is happening? Because we will simultaneously have the eclipses activating your career and your home sphere, but also activating your spheres of communication, travel, immediate environment as well. So in this cycle, you will be redefining your life philosophy, your belief system. This is about letting go of the beliefs that are not yours, of the life philosophy that was never truly yours to begin with. This is a cycle when you might start learning new languages, you might have a stronger need to read, to research. It's all about your mind, your intellect, knowledge, how much you know, gaining more confidence in who you are, in how you communicate, and in your communication style overall. And this is also about finding more meaning in your surroundings and in what you are most familiar with in your immediate environment. You don't have to look too far out to find a purpose. However, of course, your ruler Jupiter will be traveling for 12 months throughout your 9th house. So yes, there could be some really interesting trips that may come up during this time. I am just finishing this cycle. I personally haven't traveled that much, but I went to Poland and I went skiing in France. So it's practically not that much, but here what I actually did a lot of learning about human design and palmistry and reading, of course, about astrology, continuing my research, astrology research, but also learning more about things like marketing and sales and online business, these sort of things. So yes, there is a need for knowledge, for learning more, for becoming more of an expert in certain fields in life, not necessarily in connection to your career, but if you want to master some topics that are of your interest, and this cycle is amazing for doing so. Then on July the 27th, we got a build up towards the full moon in Aquarius that will take place on the 29th of July. That's when the Sun and Pluto opposition take place across your Leo and Aquarius houses. So that's where the nodes are also placed. And that's the 27th. So the 27th is quite a bit tricky day. It could bring some power struggles, power dynamics, especially here. Communication is key. Choose your words wisely on the 27th, because sometimes under the influence of these energies, it's easier to get involved, unintentionally even, in some power struggles, power dynamic situations that may lead to unnecessary debates. Now, so basically the full moon on the 29th of July here is going to activate your third house, where also the North Node is present at this point. This is the final full moon prior to the solar eclipse in the sign of Leo that will take place on the 12th of August. All right, so here with the full moon in the sign of Aquarius happening at 6 degrees on the 29th, very often with the full moons in the third house, this could be connected to some news, something you might find out, decisions that perhaps you may have to make. For example, Mercury is now out of the retrograde phase. Here, communication is absolutely key during this time. This could be connected to some major documents, paperwork you might be signing, dealing with. Something generally in the sphere of communication, your immediate environment is now reaching a turning point, is now coming to fruition. So this will, of course, depend on your circumstances, but it is connected to your immediate environment. It is connected to anything to do with communication, speech, decisions, and your mindset even changing as well. Now, there's Pluto retrograde that is tightly conjunct to this full moon, so the energies will be quite intense and transformative. So make your choices and decisions wisely around this time, and also choose your words wisely. Here, remember that Sun and Pluto opposition 2 days prior to this full moon. However, on a positive note, we've got a Sun and Jupiter conjunction at 6 degrees of Leo on the 29th of July, same day as this full moon. So generally, the full moon will be in opposition to Jupiter at this point, which is absolutely fantastic, because this placement, this transit is in your 9th house, the house opposing the 3rd house, where the full moon will be activated, which this could generally lead, especially if you have any placements around 6 degrees of Leo, this could lead to some really that could help you move to the next level in your career, in your project. For example, this could also be connected to an opportunity becoming more visible, more achievable even. So the Sun and Jupiter conjunction in your 9th house offer very expansive energy that can help you to reach your goals. But first, perhaps you might have to deal with a situation, decision, for example, that will require your attention. So thank you so much, Sagittarius. Have a wonderful month ahead, and until the next time, bye for now.